Brief concept overview. A struggling teenage girl gives up her bus seat for a quiet, disheveled stranger, ignoring mockery from her classmates. 3 years later, when she faces a life-threatening betrayal at the hands of someone she trusts, the man she once helped resurfaces. But now, he's a powerful force with the means to protect her. No one saw it coming. The rain fell hard over the city of Portbridge, smearing the glass of the bus stop shelter where people huddled in silence. Among them was Lena Rivers, a 17-year-old high school girl, clutching her second-hand backpack and shivering through her threadbare sweater. Her soaked shoes squished when she shifted her weight, but she didn't complain. She never did. Lena was used to discomfort. Since her mother fell ill and her father left, life had demanded she grow up fast. She worked part-time at a diner after school, studied by candlelight during power outages, and often gave up meals to feed her mother. Yet even with all the hardships, Lena remained kind. Today, though, kindness was about to be tested in a way that would change her life. As the bus screeched to a halt, the crowd surged forward. Lena waited her turn, stepping aside for a woman with a baby and a limping old man. She managed to squeeze into the bus last, barely finding a place to stand. That's when she noticed him, a tall, thin man in a faded trench coat. His eyes were shadowed, his hands trembling as he struggled to stay upright. No one moved to help him. Some even recoiled. He looked homeless, dirty, out of place, and fragile. As the bus jolted forward, the man stumbled. Lena, without thinking, stood up and offered her seat. "You need it more than I do," she said gently. The man looked at her, stunned. A pause. Then, almost inaudibly, he said, "Thank you." From behind her, laughter erupted. "Of course she gives up her seat," sneered Tasha, Lena's classmate. "She's practically homeless herself." The others joined in, whispering and giggling, snapping photos and nudging each other. Lena flushed but said nothing. She focused on the stranger, who now sat quietly, gripping the metal bar like it was his anchor. "Maybe that's her future husband," someone chuckled. "Or her dad," another added, cruelly. Lena bit her lip, not because it hurt, but because she refused to cry, especially not in front of them. But what she didn't know was that the man she helped was silently watching every move, every insult, every act of cruelty. And he wouldn't forget. When the bus stopped near the hospital, Lena tapped the stranger's shoulder. "This is my stop." He turned to her with deep, sunken eyes that shimmered like he wanted to say more. But all he said was, "You didn't have to, but you did. That matters." She gave a small smile. "Be safe, sir." He nodded, and she stepped off the bus into the rain. From inside the window, the stranger watched her walk away. She didn't see him again, not for a long time. Life didn't get easier for Lena. Her mother's health worsened, and medical bills piled up. She continued working at the diner, often serving the same bullies from school who still mocked her uniform, her patched clothes, and her quiet demeanor. But Lena never fought back. She believed in staying kind. One night, after a long shift, she collapsed on the floor of their one-bedroom apartment. Her mother tried to help her up, crying, "I should be taking care of you." "You are," Lena whispered. "You're the reason I wake up." She didn't realize it then, but across the city, someone had already begun looking for her. Lena barely made it to graduation. Her shoes were still too tight. Her dress borrowed from a neighbor, but she walked across that stage with her head held high. Tasha, in her expensive gown, snickered. "She'll be flipping pancakes while we run the world." Lena just smiled, but inside she was burning, not with hatred, but with a quiet promise to rise. After graduation, Lena applied for scholarships. She was accepted into a local college. Part-time. More work, less sleep, but she kept going. She didn't know it yet, but fate was quietly working behind the scenes. A year later, Lena was still working the night shift at Jilly's Diner. She was used to rude customers. But that night was different. A man in a suit came in with a date, ordered a meal, then screamed at Lena when the steak was slightly undercooked. "You people are useless," he yelled. Lena apologized, offered a replacement, But he wasn't interested. He wanted to humiliate her. He stood to leave without paying. Then suddenly, the diner doors opened and everything changed. A man in a sharp black suit, now clean-shaven, walked in. His presence commanded the room. Eyes turned. He looked directly at the man shouting at Lena. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," he said calmly. The rude customer scoffed. "Who the hell are you?" The man smiled slightly. "The owner of this chain." Gasps erupted. Lena's jaw dropped. The rude man stammered, then left quickly. The diner fell silent. The man turned to Lena. "Still offering seats to strangers, I see." Her heart skipped. It was him. "I go by many names now," he said. "But you knew me when I had nothing." Lena stared confused. I remember. But you, how?" The man sat down. 3 years ago, I was in the darkest place of my life. I'd lost my family, my company, everything. I was walking to end it all that day until you gave me your seat." Lena blinked, stunned. "You reminded me that kindness still existed, that I wasn't invisible." His voice trembled. That moment changed everything. The man introduced himself formally as Michael Voss, now a successful entrepreneur and philanthropist. "I've been searching for you for months," he said, "and now I found you." He handed Lena a business card. "Come work with me. I want to help you like you helped me." Tears welled up in Lena's eyes. "Why me?" He smiled. "Because kindness is rare, and rare things deserve to be protected." As Lena held the card in shaking hands, she realized, for the first time in her life, that maybe the tables were turning. And this was just the beginning. Lena stared at the business card in her hand like it was made of gold. Michael Voss, CEO, Voss Innovations. The name meant nothing to her at first, but the way the entire diner froze when he introduced himself told her everything. Her manager suddenly appeared, full of fake warmth. "Mr. Voss, it's an honor. I didn't know you were in town." Michael didn't even look at him. "I'm here for Lena. She's the reason I'm still alive." The manager blinked, confused. "She's a good worker," he muttered awkwardly. "Bit slow on Fridays, but—" Michael raised an eyebrow. "She just handled a man twice her size, didn't break a sweat, and still smiled. That's leadership." Lena's hands trembled. I don't have experience," she said quietly. Michael smiled. "You have more than most of my staff. You have character." Later that night, Lena sat beside her mother, explaining what happened. Her mother's eyes widened. "He remembered you? After all these years?" Lena nodded. "I think he wants to help, but it feels too big, too fast." Her mother gently took her hand. "You've been giving all your life, Lena. Maybe it's time you learn how to receive." Lena looked down, ashamed. "What if I mess it up?" Her mother's voice cracked. "You've already succeeded, my child. You gave someone hope. That's more than most people do in a lifetime." When Lena walked into Voss Innovations a week later, wearing a modest second-hand blazer and shoes just polished enough to shine, she didn't expect to be escorted to the executive floor. She thought she'd be sorting mail. Instead, she was ushered into an office with her name temporarily on the door. Lena Rivers, special executive intern to the CEO. Tasha's voice echoed in her mind. "She'll be flipping pancakes while we run the world." She smirked to herself. Not anymore. But every palace has its poison. Enter Jordan Case, a charming executive with a smile too white and too sharp. He took one look at Lena and smirked. "Intern, huh?" he said, circling her. "Let me guess, nepotism? Or charity?" Lena stiffened. "Neither." Jordan leaned closer. "We'll see how long you last. This place isn't for charity cases." He walked away, laughing with 2 others. What Lena didn't know was that Jordan was after Michael's seat, and he saw Lena as nothing more than a threat in a hoodie, and threats had to be removed. Michael watched the interaction from the other side of the glass wall. He didn't intervene. "Not yet." He turned to his assistant. "I want to see how she handles this. The world doesn't need protected people. It needs prepared people." "But Jordan's dangerous," the assistant said. Michael nodded. "So is she. She just doesn't know it yet." Lena began staying late, reading documents, learning how the company operated. She studied budgets, contracts, marketing plans, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. One night, while walking down to the record department, she heard voices. Jordan's. She's a nobody. If she gets close to Voss, we're all finished. I want everything on her, where she lives, who she talks to, her weaknesses. Lena froze behind a filing cabinet. I'll dig into her past. Everyone's got something. The other man laughed. She grew up poor. Her whole life is dirt. They walked off. Lena felt her chest tighten. She'd made an enemy. The next week, Lena's mother received strange phone calls. Rumors spread at the diner. Her college professor suddenly questioned her assignments. Then her electricity was shut off without notice or unpaid bills. One by one, pieces of her life were being pulled apart. Lena confronted Michael in his office. "Someone's trying to destroy me," she said. He nodded slowly. "I know. You knew. And you let it happen." Michael leaned forward. "I wanted to see if you'd break. You didn't. You rose." He handed her a file. "This is everything Jordan has been doing. Legally, he's dancing on a thin line. But ethically, he crossed it." Lena looked down at the file. "What do I do with this?" Michael's eyes darkened. "You do what's right, even when they don't." Michael arranged a special board meeting. Lena, for the first time, was invited to present a project idea. It was a surprise to everyone, especially Jordan. As she stood before the board, her hands shook. Then she pulled out a USB stick. "I was going to present a business proposal," she began, "but I realized there's a bigger problem in this company." Click. Screens lit up with audio recordings, emails, and footage. Jordan conspiring to sabotage not only her, but other team members, leaking data and manipulating stock. Silence. Gasps. Then the chairman spoke. "Mr. Case, do you have a response?" Jordan stuttered, pale. This is a setup." "She's lying." Michael stood. "I gave her a chance. She proved more honorable than most of you." He turned to Lena. "You saved my life. Now you've saved my company." Jordan was escorted out. News traveled fast. Investors praised Lena's bravery. Employees whispered in awe. But Lena didn't celebrate. She went to the rooftop alone and looked over the city. The same one where she once walked to school in shoes 2 sizes too small. The same one where she once gave up her seat. Her mother called. "You okay?" Lena smiled faintly. "I think I just slayed a dragon." "You've always been a warrior," her mother said. That night, Lena took the bus home. As she stepped on, a young woman stood to offer her a seat. Lena laughed. "Thank you, but I'm okay." The woman insisted. "You look like you've had a long day." Lena sat, nodding. "Funny," she said. "This is how my life changed 3 years ago." The girl tilted her head. "Really?" Lena looked out the window, eyes misty. "You never know who you're helping, or who they'll become." And somewhere in the city, Michael watched the security footage from the bus line. He had arranged a driver to be someone from his team, still watching over her, still remembering. Despite her rise at Voss Innovations, Lena couldn't outrun her past. She received a letter one morning. No return address. Inside was a printed photo of her standing beside a patient bed. Her mother, frail and hooked up to IVs, scrawled in red ink. "We know." Her hands trembled. Who was watching her? Why? That afternoon, Michael found her pale and shaken. She handed him the note. He scanned it, eyes narrowing. "This isn't Jordan." Lena blinked. "Then who?" Michael's jaw tightened. "There's someone else. Someone who doesn't want you in this building." Michael called an emergency meeting. With only Lena and his private security head, a former intelligence officer named Briggs. Briggs laid a file on the table. "There's chatter in the darker parts of the business world. A woman's name keeps coming up, Victoria Merrow. She's been trying to buy out Voss Innovations for months." Michael growled. "I told her no." Briggs nodded. "And now she's trying something else, getting to you through Lena." Lena's heart pounded. "Why me?" Michael looked her in the eyes. Because you're my weakness. That evening, Lena received an unexpected email. No subject, just a link. She clicked it and watched a video load of her mother in a hospital hallway, confused and unattended. Then the screen faded to black, and a voice said, "We can take her away. Or we can give her everything. Name your price. Resign from Voss. Walk away." Tears streamed down Lena's face. This wasn't just about corporate sabotage. It was war. Lena confronted Michael. "She's threatening my mother." Michael leaned forward, tense. "Then we bring the fight to her." "No. If I fight her, my mother pays a price." Michael paused. "I'll move your mother to my private medical wing. Armed security. You'll never be alone again." Lena shook her head, panicking. "This is too much. I didn't ask for this." Michael's voice softened. "You saved a broken man. Now let me protect you." For the first time, Lena allowed herself to be protected. Victoria Merrow, a woman in her 50s with ice in her veins and diamonds at her throat, watched Lena on a surveillance feed. "She thinks she can play in our world," she scoffed. Her assistant asked, "Should we proceed?" Victoria sipped wine. "No. Let her taste power. Let her rise higher. The fall will hurt more." She smiled coldly. "Then we crush her." Lena's mother was moved to the secure Voss medical wing. Lena returned to work, heart-heavy but determined. Michael gave her a new project, restructuring a failing department to prove her leadership. It was a test and a chance. But hidden among her new team was a mole, someone feeding data to Merrow. Lena felt eyes on her at all times. The real enemy wasn't just in another building. They were closer than she realized. At the next company-wide event, Lena was scheduled to speak her first public address. She stepped onto the stage, nervous but prepared. The screen behind her lit up and suddenly played a doctor video. Lena yelling at a nurse, throwing a file, and being escorted by security. Gasps. People stared. The boardroom froze. Michael shot to his feet. "This is fake." But the damage was done. The headlines were already being written. Within hours, social media erupted. Lena Rivers, Voss's pet monster, rags to rage. Lena was placed on temporary leave. Michael was furious, but the board panicked. Investors backed out. Stock dipped. Victoria Merrow smiled from her office, sipping champagne. Her plan was working. But Michael wasn't done. He hired a forensic tech team, and within days, the truth came out. The video was AI-generated. He held a press conference, publicly cleared Lena's name, and played the real security footage, showing Lena helping the nurse pick up drop files. "I trust Lena Rivers with my company and my life," Michael said. The crowd erupted in support. Victoria's face, across town, turned white. Her plan had failed. Lena returned to Voss Innovations, not as an intern, but as head of community and crisis management, a new department created in her name. Her salary? 6 figures. Her mission? To protect those who can't fight back. Michael placed a plaque on her new office door. It read, "Kindness is not weakness, it's legacy." But even as the applause died down and order was restored, Victoria Merrow was already planning her next move. And this time, she wouldn't just attack Lena's career. She'd go after her life. Victoria Merrow had lost the public relations battle, but she wasn't done. Destroying her reputation was enough, she told her assistant. Now we'll destroy her spirit. She laid a document on her desk. Lena's entire life, mapped and dissected, friendships, connections, former employers, college professors. Victoria tapped a name, Mrs. Havers, Lena's former landlady. She's struggling financially. Offer her a year's rent if she lies. The assistant hesitated. Lie about what? Say Lena stole from her. That she was violent. Make it believable. Yes, Ms. Merrow. Victoria smiled coldly. Let's see how much kindness she has left when the world turns its back. Within a week, headlines emerged. Voss executive accused of theft and abuse by elderly landlord. A tearful Mrs. Havers appeared on TV, claiming Lena pushed her downstairs over unpaid rent. Lena was stunned. She's lying, she told Michael. I paid her back every cent. Michael nodded. We know, but the media doesn't care about truth. They care about noise. The board began to panic again. Threats of another leave surfaced. I can't do this again, Lena whispered. I don't know how much more I can take. Michael looked at her steadily. Yes, you do. Late one night, Lena heard a knock at her door. She opened it to find Mrs. Havers, trembling, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, she cried. I didn't want to lie. They paid me. They threatened to take my home. Lena held her, heartbroken. Why didn't you come to me? I was ashamed. Lena sat her down, made her tea. This moment could have destroyed her, but instead, Lena chose to forgive. Michael, watching from a distance, whispered, and that's why she wins. Lena and Michael launched a full-scale investigation into Victoria Merrow's dealings. A whistleblower emerged and accounted for Merrow's firm who had been silenced for years. He had everything: fraud, blackmail, market manipulation. But exposing her wouldn't be enough. Not for Lena. She went after my mother, she said, voice cold. She endangered lives. Michael handed her a file. Then let's finish this. Together. Michael organized a private gala attended by major media outlets, investors, and government officials. Victoria Merrow was invited under a false pretense, an investment summit. But Lena had rigged the event with surveillance. Midway through the evening, Lena approached Victoria, microphone hidden in her dress. I know what you did, she said softly. Victoria smirked. Then you know I always win. You haven't yet. Victoria leaned in. If I have to burn the city to destroy you, I will. Those words echoed to the hall, amplified through hidden speakers. Gasps, shouts, cameras flashed. The walls closed in on Victoria Merrow. Victoria was arrested within hours. Charges: conspiracy, blackmail, cyber fraud, identity theft, and coercion. Her empire unraveled. News outlets reported Lena's role in uncovering one of the largest corruption scandals in the city's history. She didn't fight with vengeance, one article read. She fought with justice. Weeks later, Lena received a letter from a law firm. Victoria's former assistant had turned state's witness and revealed everything, including an unfiled document, a transfer of property ownership meant to be hush money for a bribed official. The building? The one where Lena and her mother once rented a room. The name on the deed now read, Lena Rivers. Lena stood in front of the building with her mother. It's ours, she said softly. Every brick. Her mother smiled weakly, still healing. They walked through familiar halls, rooms filled with memories of hunger, laughter, and pain. But now, it was a symbol of how far they had come. Lena made a decision. We're turning it into a shelter, she told Michael. For who? He asked. For the people like we were. The ones no one sees. Michael nodded. You're not just building shelter, Lena. You're building legacy. Months later, Lena stood on a stage, not at Voss Innovations, but at a global summit, receiving the Humanitarian of the Year award. Flashbulbs exploded. She represents what the world forgets. The host said, that kindness isn't weakness. It's the root of strength. Lena took the mic, hands steady now. I gave up my seat for a stranger once. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because I knew what it felt like to be invisible. She looked directly into the camera. We all have power, even the powerless, especially the powerless. After the ceremony, Lena rode the city bus home. The same line, the same route. A tired woman holding groceries stood beside her. Without a second thought, Lena stood up and offered her seat. The woman looked at her in surprise. Thank you. Are you sure? Lena smiled. Yes, I've been where you are. She sat down slowly, unaware of who Lena was. But Lena didn't mind, because in that moment, she remembered the kindness that changed everything. And now, she was paying it forward. 3 years to the day since she had given up her seat on the bus, Lena Rivers found herself walking through a quiet park near the city center. She had just finished a keynote speech at an educational summit. The building she once couldn't afford to enter had now hosted her as a guest of honor. But Lena wasn't in a rush to get home. She liked these walks. The solitude reminded her of where she started, And on this particular evening, something caught her eye. A man sat alone on a weathered wooden bench, staring out at the pond. His clothes were dusty, his shoes worn, his eyes sunken. People passed without a glance. He was invisible, just like he had once been. Lena stopped in her tracks. She could have walked on. She could have told herself she'd done enough. But she remembered. She remembered how it started, with a seat, with a gesture no one else noticed. But one man never forgot. So she sat beside him, quietly, without words. The man didn't look at her, not at first. But after a moment, he asked, "Why'd you stop?" Lena smiled softly. "Because I know what it feels like to sit alone." He blinked, then nodded. "No one sees you until they need something." "I see you," she said. He looked at her again, and his eyes changed, recognition, faint but flickering. "You look familiar." Lena chuckled. "Maybe." They sat in silence. Then she stood. "Come with me," she said. "You look like you could use a second chance." He hesitated. "Why would you help me?" She tilted her head. "Because once, someone helped me when I didn't even know I needed it. And now I get to do the same." He rose slowly, unsure, but followed her as they walked into the twilight, past people who never turned their heads, past the noise of the world that overlooked him. He was no longer invisible, because the girl who once gave up her seat was now giving someone else a life. Final narration. Lena Rivers gave her seat to a stranger, and in return, that stranger saved her life. But what she didn't expect was that kindness, once planted, never stops growing. And sometimes the life you change ends up changing the world.